pipe is what I heard, but. like to call the April 7th Morgan County Commissioners meeting to order. Y'all stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our dear Heavenly Father, we just ask that you please forgive us, Lord, of anything that wasn't pleasing in your eyes in the last 24 hours, Lord. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your wisdom in all the decisions that we make this morning, Lord, that it's beneficial to all the Dagon people of the county and that it's all pleasing in your eyes, Lord. We just ask that you please be with the family that lost a loved one over the past week, Lord, that was trying to unplug a Dagon drain in the lake and that didn't make it, Lord. And we just ask that you carry them through their time of loss. We thank you for keeping all the emergency people, whether it was highway or whether it was EMS, fire, law, keeping them all safe, Lord. We just ask that you forgive us again. We ask it all in Jesus' precious name, our Lord and our Savior. Amen. For order of business, you got your March 17th minutes in front of you. Everybody had a chance to read them. If so, I'd entertain a motion on that or corrections.
Move to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion from the board? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Claims. Is there any holds on these, Linda?
Any holds?
I didn't see any, but I want to make sure. Everybody's good with them. I'd entertain a motion on the
Brian Carter
claims.
makes a motion that we approve total payroll and accounts payable claims equaling $4,564,849.64.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Adams. Any further discussion from the board or the audience? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Got rezone ordinance, Mrs. Parker, 2025.3.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Laura.
You have in your packets a rezone ordinance for property on State Road 42 that was changed from ag to R1, and that had a 6-0 favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission back in March. Just looking for your approval today.
Any questions for Laura?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion on the rezone.
Move to approve that rezone from out on State Road 42 from ag to R1.
Got a motion by Mr. Adams to approve the rezone from ag to R1. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collier. Any further questions from the board or from the audience? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And want to acknowledge that we did get the treasurer's report, and we're good on that. Is Dan in here? I know I seen him walking outside earlier today. I move right on down to Mr. Rogers. Annual jail report and inspection.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So we have our annual jail inspection that I'm presenting to you. That's just more advisory. That mic's not going to cooperate. Pretty much our jail inspection went as it normally does every year without any issues. A couple of things were pointed out, just as we all know, with the plumbing is becoming an issue within the building, and obviously he's seen some of where we've dug up and had to pipes through walls and those type of things was notated in that report. But other than that, the facility passed, no problem. And then also annually, I've got to do a jail report of services to the state, and also goes to the circuit court and then to you folks and the council. And that was included in your packet, and I gave you a hard copy of that as well, of just kind of the happenings of what's going on with the facility. One thing I want to note with that report is our overall intake has reduced over the past 7 years quite a bit. So that was pretty good that we're taking in a lot less inmates than what we have over the years past. So happy to answer any questions that you may have about that.
I'm good with it, David, and I greatly appreciate it, that's for sure. It's always a good thing having less inmates.
Absolutely.
It's really working out.
Yep, and you'll notate on your sheriff's report this morning that our population's staying around 208, 212. So DOC, I'm happy to report too, has started, which has helped with our population with the new commissioner in place. Came in place in January at the DOC. They've done some restructuring, and we're getting inmates out a lot faster than what we have in the past 2 years. So that's helping with our population as well.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you need any motion or anything to accept the jail report or inspection, do you?
Nope.
I didn't think so.
I do want to make a remark, not just necessary for the amendments, but one of my grandfather was a deputy, like yourself, except it was about 100 years ago, I suppose. But one of the things that I'm sure wasn't on any report was not the quality of this report. This is excellent. But more importantly, the thing that's changed, I think, a lot in our attitude, in something that you're leading the way for, is on page 20, where it's talking about health services,
Yes.
and especially mental health services. I don't think the public is, well, I think there probably are a lot of people aware of the importance that we're dealing with a lot of health issues, mostly addictions, in our county. And I'm really, as you know, you and I are on several committees to kind of work with that. And I think, to me, that is probably the biggest change that's been made in the way you're leading. I commend you and the staff that down in the sheriff with that initiative that you're taking to deal with the problem that these folks have.
So we appreciate that, Don.
So greatly appreciate it.
That is definitely probably the biggest thing that we deal with on a daily basis is the mental health, and you've heard the sheriff talk about that too. Is jails unfortunately are the mental health facility of your county when it comes to inpatient. We are the inpatient facilities, and probably not the right place to do it, but I'm proud to say that we do it pretty good here. And I mean, a lot of what we do and the programming that we have is due to partnerships that we had. The Board of Health sits on a lot of boards and have been very proactive here lately as well with us. So we've got lots of good partners, and which is listed in that report of the partners that we do have that has stepped up and does help provide services and helps us provide services. So appreciate that.
Well, just keep up it's not a problem that's going to go away fast, but it's got to be dealt with. And I appreciate your work.
I got educated on the work release program a little bit last week.
Sure.
Talking to some of the employees, and that's exciting to see that that's moving and expanding, since that helps us with health insurance and food cost and everything else. So kudos for that program expanding. Not to make light of mental health, but I feel sorry for you having to work with the sheriff and the person in charge of the maintenance department, since I know both those gentlemen quite well.
Sometimes they need the mental health.
Yeah. That's all encompassing, isn't it?
It very much so. I do want to point out with the Work Release Center, that whole program has went in a very good direction. Valita done a wonderful job building a foundation there, and Eric has ran with that foundation and has really grown it. And you'll even see financially that has grown substantially over the past couple years. That we're proud, and we were able to maintain the CC program as well and try to keep that afloat. But we got lots of people working and paying their child support now that it's not just sitting on their butt in jail.
And when it comes back to the CC program, I don't think community members have a clue what that saves us.
It's pretty
I mean,
substantial.
Not even,
Not
and I-
even.
and I know the sheriff and you have done presentations over the last couple years about those that would be eligible to do that type of release and work for us, and hopefully that will continue because, you know, they immensely help our parks and clean up the county, so.
Absolutely.
So thank you for doing your best there to keep that program going.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you. All right,
Thanks,
thank you.
David.
David, you're up still, sir, on the assignment with Heritage Health Solutions. I'm assuming you want to address that.
Yes. So, there was, and Ann may have to help me through, are we doing both, Ann? There was two aspects to this. One is the reassignment of one provider we already have to Heritage. And then the other one's just cleaning out some language in Heritage contract to get in state statute compliance. So I don't know which one you want to
I'm
tackle.
fine, I mean, you and I looked at this amendment, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm fine. Are you asking whether you should present them together?
Yeah,
I'm fine with you
Okay.
presenting them. I mean, they go hand in hand.
They do,
right?
yeah.
One's no good without the other.
exactly. So in front of you, you have an amendment. So obviously, when we took over the medical operations from a provider that was doing all this for us, we done a bunch of individual contracts to provide some individual services that the auditor's office definitely did not want to have to do for us, and that was handling our inmate billing and negotiations of medical medical bills. And so we got this contract in place. The company that we utilize is Heritage. They do business in all 50 states. And so when they put together our original contract, they left out some language that is specific to Indiana. They've been paying according to Indiana statute, but it wasn't really outlined within the contract. So this amendment is just putting that language into the contract just to make it clean. And so really all that is in Indiana, there's a statute that basically was enacted in 2012 in House Bill 1006 that, or 1268, I'm sorry, that was negotiated on inmate medical costs. Before then, the sheriff just negotiated costs as they could with the hospital networks and paid what we could. This actually changed it where the sheriff is obligated to pay Medicare or Medicaid plus 4%. So whatever Medicaid rate is plus 4% is the statutory requirement. We can negotiate below that, which does happen in a lot of cases, but the mandatory is Medicaid plus 4, which Heritage usually negotiates below that as well. And hospital networks are usually pretty good about giving us Medicaid rates for the most part. But so that's all this amendment is doing.
Any questions for David on the amendment or the attachment, either one? I did check with Ann, we can do it all in one motion with the amendment number 1 and with the attachment B as well with the pricing. I'm comfortable with it, David.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. We approve amendment number 1 and the attachment.
We got a
B.
motion by Mr. Adams to approve the amendment number 1 with the attachment B. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collier. Any further questions from the board or from the audience? Not seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, David.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And then, Ann, I've got one more. On the medical consultant to Heritage, was that not on the agenda for today?
It was not, and that was
Okay.
my fault.
So, no worries, just want to make sure. So,
I have two
what
things,
we are
actually.
talking about, just to give you a heads up, will be on your next, most likely, is our medical consultant, which helps us with compliance issues, training of the nursing staff, and policy. She has merged, or actually sold out to Heritage and now is a Heritage employee. So she is, which is in her contract for us to reassign, or as long as we agree, her contract can reassign to another provider. So she has asked that we reassign the contract, which changes no terms of it, just who we pay Instead of paying her direct, we would pay Heritage direct. So there is going to be an agreement that comes before you next time that basically allows us to transfer that contract over to Heritage.
I have a couple of questions for you, but I'll get with you after the meeting on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, David, appreciate it.
Yes.
Going back up, I see Mr. Dan Baston's present. If you want to address anything, Dan, on your monthly report?
Well, you should have before you the treasurer's March monthly report. It's pretty cut and dry as far as the numbers. The thing that I want to point out to you is, in addition to the monthly report, you should find the 2025 interest earnings and the interest earnings to date. The total to date for, I gotta put my glasses on here. The first two lines, the First Merchant and the Home Bank, those are interest-bearing checking accounts and sweep account. The Home Bank has been staying steady at 4.3% on that, which is great, but they've informed me that this is the month they re-examined their interest rates, and I truly expect that to go down some. First Merchants has been, for the last few months, at 3.7%. We have year-to-date in First Merchants, $418,623, and in the Home Bank account, $62,725. Listed below that are our certificates of deposit investments. Now, effective today, we have a total of $86,555,000 in CD investments. Since I began, I increased that by $57 million, and I'm probably be going to make another investment here soon, just to make sure we've got enough of those set aside for settlement. I'm finding right now that interest rates are better at the 9-month level than if you go more than 9, they're not as attractive. If you go less than that, they're less. But that seems to be where interest rates are right now. We're probably going to have a hard time surpassing last year at this point because interest rates are going down. But and a couple things not associated with earning money on the county's money, but a couple things to let you know about that I'm working on, expanding the opportunities for, or the availability for taxpayers to make tax payments. I'm working with Citizens Bank and with BMO that here soon hope to announce that taxpayers will be able to make tax payments at those banks. They've been able to make for some time property tax payments at First Merchants, but I didn't quite understand why we only had it at that one bank, so I began to explore reaching out to the other banks, and I've got Citizens, a commitment from them and from BMO that they're willing to work with me and to do that there. Haven't quite got anything from Key Bank yet, still working with them, but hope to have where taxpayers can make payments at any of the banks that are located in Morgan County.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Tax bills should hit the mail here this week. For those folks that get noticed by email, they were notified that their tax bill is available online. Everyone's is available online. I don't know that now. But as far as the tax statements being physically in the hands of taxpayers by mail, that should occur later this week. We're taking measures to improve on that. We'd hoped to have those out sooner this year, but a few things didn't fall in place, but we're working on making sure those do fall in place next year and we can get them out sooner, but.
Any questions for Dan on any of it?
Yes. I've looked at mine online and I've seen a general increase. Is your office prepared that if legislation at the state level goes through and we can no longer subsidize our property taxes with our income tax, that everyone will see approximately a 40% increase next year?
Well,
I just want to go on the record saying, because if that happens, I probably won't be sitting up here next year.
yeah,
Just
let's
right off
hope.
into the sunset, because I'm not going to take the chewings for something that we had nothing to do with.
Well, I agree. I don't quite understand why they want to take away from those counties that chose to use their local income tax to provide property tax credits, why they're taking that tool out of their toolbox.
It looks like it's going to pass, and that's going to be taken from us.
Be aware, I happened to talk to someone that's very close to that, what's going on today. Happened to run into that person at Walmart yesterday. And there should be a property tax bill that no one's seen except for legislators that will be revealed today. I pled and begged with that person to please understand in Morgan County that if you take away the ability of the county to fund property tax credits with income tax, you're looking at an immediate 33 to 35% increase in the property tax bills. And it's just not fair this is my opinion. My opinion, it's not fair for them to decide for the county what they're going to use their local income tax for. And if Morgan County, don't care that not many counties, Morgan County is one of the very few that chose to use property tax credits, but it was done strategically by county council back in 2007. It wasn't done without some planning and understanding of the effect of that. And two things occurred with that. One is it saved property taxpayers money, and two, it delayed and has delayed it to the point that we still aren't affected by what's called circuit breaker. Whenever circuit breakers go into effect, that becomes property tax lost dollars to the taxing units. Taxing units can't replace that with any other revenue. It's simply lost dollars. And all you need to do is ask some of those counties that are struggling with that and have struggled with that for several years now. Morgan County hasn't had to struggle with that because it was its strategy. It was, and also in Morgan County, at least for the county government, in Morgan County, the government services are being funded half with income tax, half with property tax. That seems fair to me, that you don't put the total burden of government services on one type of taxpayer, that it's split between the two. And all those things were done here in Morgan County consciously. We didn't go into it blindly. Having been at the state and seen and observed how other counties were operating with their local income tax, they weren't doing things consciously. They were going through it blindly, and they've suffered the consequences of that. But here in Morgan County, the county council back in 2007, they knew what they were doing, and it's worked. And now they're going to pull the rug out from under the county, and that's just not fair.
Grandma on a fixed income is going to lose her house.
Yeah, you take your tax bill. Everybody can take their tax bill right now, what you're going to pay this year, and divide that by 0.72. And the result of that math will give you what the tax bill will be without the property tax relief. And that's what it amounts to in Morgan County.
Yeah, and I mean, the sad part is, I mean, we took some heat when we did that, put
Oh,
all
heavens,
three
yes.
rates on at the max at the time. I was president of the council. Mr. Collier was on there, and I mean, we took some heat doing what we did. And then here they're wanting to penalize us now for it.
Yeah, the county took a lot of heat from that, but it has saved property taxpayers a lot of money. And quite honestly, when I look at my taxes that I pay, I don't consider the amount that I pay to the county at the 2.72% to be a burden. It's not that lot, I mean, yeah, it is, but yet I'm saving money on my property taxes, you know?
I've always said you can budget if you know a fixed rate. It's hard to budget when on the unknown, and the unknown comes next week in the mail.
Yeah, and the dangerous thing about the property taxes and them working with property taxes is, and I've seen this again when I was at the state and observing, it never fails when they start tweaking the property taxes, there's always unintended consequences. And they'll say, oh, we didn't know that was gonna happen. And it's a very complicated thing, property taxes are in Indiana, but it really, really, really upsets me that they're making the decision for the county. Just give all the options what you can use income tax for, and let the county decide what they're gonna use their income tax. Don't tell them what they're gonna use it for. I'll get off my soapbox.
Preach on, preach on.
But
Thank you,
anyway,
Dan.
you're welcome. Thank you for letting me speak.
Oh, not a
Thank
problem.
you, Dan.
As much as Mr. Baston and I have locked horns over the last 30 years, we are on the same page on that issue. So thank you, Mr. Baston, for expanding and helping to educate the public what they're about to get hit with.
It's all yours, Miss Linda.
I am just asking the board's permission. Dan and I have worked with First Merchants Bank. The auditor's office is in need of a capability of accepting credit card payments at the front counter. So First Merchants came up with this solution. It's no cost to the county. It's a 3% fee to the user at the time they use it. They collect that fee and then send us our charges that were collected through that the next morning by ACH.
Any questions for Ms. Linda? If not, I'd entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve the, is this an agreement? Oops, where'd you go? Pardon? It's just an agreement with merchants that we're probably gonna do with other banks?
Yeah, it's just with First Merchants, Elavon is their credit card company that they use.
Okay, and then, yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion, we go ahead and approve that.
We got a motion by Mr. Adams to go ahead and approve the agreement with First Merchants Bank. I'll second the motion. Any further questions for Linda or the board from the audience? Not hearing none, not seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Linda. I don't see Kyle here with HWC or anybody. I know they did their presentation last meeting. And I know it's ready to be adopted now. We do have a few people here that I've talked to on the phone, and I'd be more than willing to let them go ahead and speak first, if you don't mind. It's all yours, Mr. Ferguson. I'm assuming Mr. Pugh's going to be right after you, so. That's scary now.
Well, good morning. My name is Dave Ferguson, and this is my wife, Valerie. Back here, we live on a farm that, I don't know if it's relevant to today's discussion or not, that potentially could be affected by the White River Trail between Brooklyn and Mooresville. Got a phone call from Odie a few days ago, and he said, hey, there's something in the paper that shows a line going through the middle of my property and through the middle of yours. Do you know about that? And I said, no, I don't. And frankly, I got a little bit nervous because not too many years ago, I got the same kind of phone call about I-69 coming through the middle of our farm, so I thought I better pay attention to this. So I ended up talking to Odie for a while and then called Kenny, which I'd never met and not ever met you, Don, till today. My dad grew up here in Morgan County, so it's good to, I feel like I should know you guys because you knew my dad. So.
He's a good man.
Thank you.
Man.
Get a little folksy here. But in that conversation with you, great conversation, thank you. You talked about being a dreamer and that you dreamed, think about parks and those kinds of things. Well, Val and I have dreamed about what our farm could be. We live on the end of Wetzel Lane. It sits in a little pocket. White Lake Creek goes through it. And we've thought for years this would be a beautiful nature preserve, a beautiful park. We know things are going to change, but we want to steer that if we can. I break my heart to see it as a place for warehouses or even housing. There's appropriate places for those, but this place is so unusual. So wrap this up here. I invited Kenny to come. And as soon as it dries out enough to where we can stand on it without sinking, I'm going to follow up with that. And any of the rest of you that would like to come and just see some beautiful, I think, nature, please, we would like to be in conversation with what could be with our property. We feel very blessed. Thank you for opening a prayer. I need a lot of prayer.
We all do.
And we feel extremely blessed, and it was providential that years ago Dad and I bought that farm. So anyway, don't know if that's relevant to today, but you're all invited. Don't know some of you very well yet, but but we love to share our farm with other folks. We have regular groups come down, have a beautiful big old barn on it, and gonna show you guys all that if you want to come. So again, we just look forward to future conversation on what we could possibly do. Thank you.
Thank you.
That include mushroom rights?
I need to talk to my boss.
Don't open it up for that, or you'll have the whole board there.
Anybody else who would like to address the, looks like Odie's going to. I'm going to. Go right ahead, sir.
Oh, I mentioned mushrooms, that got him going.
Hey, I'm Otis Pugh Jr. Our property is right next to Dave and his families, and we feel the same way Dave does. About 20 years ago, when I think his name was Jeff Quayle,
Yeah.
at the time,
Wow.
how I found out about that was I had surveyors on the property, and I had no idea anything was going on. And then it was in the paper. It was in actually the Indianapolis Star, and it took us about 5 years to keep people off because they thought it was already a done deal. So this time, seeing it in the paper again, I'm like, it's going to be the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's a local paper. I don't see any issues with anything, so I called Dave, and we agreed. You know, I got a little tiny dock compared to what Dave has, but we would love to have y'all come down and see. I know, talk to Kenny on the phone, and eventually this may be, 15, 20, 25 years down the road, but it does affect generations that's had these farms, and we just want to be part of it so we can help do the right thing for the community. And one of the main things that I've seen is, I'm not against trails at all, but if you come down today and look at that creek, it's going to have to be way off the edge of the creek or you're going to spend money after money after money every year trying to rebuild this trail. So, and I think Dave's got a good idea of if it happens where it could be. So, and I'd love to be part of it. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Any questions
you.
for Odie?
No, thank you very
No
much.
mushroom rights, though. There's not that many.
Anybody else like to address the Morgan County Greenway Trail? Go ahead, sir. Come on up and identify yourself, please.
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Clint Cragen. I represent both property owners along the part of the trail, what I could make out the trail to be, and also my dad and brother and I farm all the ground between the city and the power plant now. And so there are some very peculiar concerns that we have with the trail installation. It looks like it follows the railroad up to a point and makes some jogs that I'm not really sure exactly where those are, but just perusing the comprehensive plan and what was in the paper, what I could make out. So again, it seems like we've been under fire for the last probably 5 years with somebody wanting what we've got. We've been forced to give away 5 easements to utility companies. And so now I've got recreation after me. I'm not wholly opposed to, you know, the Burkhart Creek Park was a great use of public land for the betterment of the people of the county. If you start taking off north on Blue Bluff Road, I invite you to look over to your left shoulder and see what that trail looks like between Martinsville and the power plant. It's not there. So I think that promotes some security concerns for the people that use the trail. I mean, the whole southern part of the state has been under flash flood warnings. We've had school delays because of flash flood warnings. And while people know generally to get out of the rain, some don't. And there's a public safety concern there. From the other side, from the farm operator side, the concerns of people on the trail while we're, you know, harvesting grain. You know, the stuff that comes out of the back of the combine comes out really fast, and somebody didn't know could be injured if they weren't paying attention. Likewise, when it comes to spraying crops for weeds, insects, those are all very time sensitive. We can't do that necessarily when nobody's on a trail. And then, you know, you don't have to look far on TV, the lawyers that are wanting to go after Roundup illnesses and these other things that could lay claim, which puts me, my brother, my dad, at personal liability for activities that we've been doing for years, and the people before us. Part of the other concern, you know, as far as like using the railway spur, that literally is 50 feet through my parents' back door, and Mr. Barnard's back door, and Mr. Bourne's back door, and all those property owners. And you can reflect, you know, in my current memory, every whip stitch, a news article on the Monon Trail, somebody got mugged, somebody got kidnapped, and all of those problems that, you know, criminal mischief can invite. Some of the problems that, you know, we've had, you know, not at the moment, but future, you know, you grant access down your farm road for maintenance of the trailway or for whatever, you know, power line. Well, I got to go after those guys. Hey, you know, can you buy a load of gravel? You know, your contractors just tore the hell out of our road. And then, so those are concerns. I mean, and not only for myself, you know, I spoke of concerns for the general public's use. And I just feel like that, you know, again, the Burkhart Creek Park was, I sat on the early stages of that park board. I thought it was a nice thing for the park to be able to have some of that land. Well, as the adjoining property owner down there, not all of the participants are aware of where the property lines are. And so, you know, we've had some trespass. You know, nothing that's, you know, made anybody bring a sidearm out of their waist or something like that, but it happens. You know, on the park, if somebody veers off and wants to take a stroll through the cornfield and they stop off in a tile hole and break a leg. Well, I may not have known that was there. You know, I generally like to keep those things repaired, but I don't know all of the obstacles, and I don't want to hold myself out to personal liability for somebody purposefully or maliciously taking off the path and going on a joyride through, you know, my property. And, you know, there's, you know, motorbikes, motorcycles, ATVs, you know, all those things can cause damage to my property, my crops, and, you know, a noise nuisance to the other folks that, you know, live from Martinsville up to the power plant. I'd just like to, you know, have you explore this a little bit farther, you know, keep it out of the floodplain by some measure, and just kind of put a different set of eyes on it. So thank you for your time.
Any questions for
Mr.
Clint?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just a comment, I appreciate your reasonableness, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you for all that you've done for us on the early stages of the park board. I appreciate
Yeah,
that. We're trying to keep everything down there at Burkhardt. You know, we put the posts in and put the cable up on the south end, and we're trying to keep people on there. Would it help you if we would kind of mark the boundaries signage-wise? Would that help you, Clint, at all? It's probably not gonna take no liability off of you, but would it help at all, you think?
I'm sure anything would help. I mean, you know, if it comes back, it would be to our benefit to say, yeah, you got injured, but you had to walk by 3 signs before you got off the,
Yeah.
you know, property. So, yeah,
And we try our best to do that up in Waverly on the Greenway Trail, but they unfortunately tear a lot of them signs down, and we put a ton of them up, and getting ready to put 50 more new ones up. That's gonna be hard plastic. It's quarter-inch thick now. It's not the little flimsy ones that we just put on the boards.
Yeah.
But we'll see what we can do to help you down there. And right now, it's just looking, the first 3 sections of it would be 2 coming south, and then possibly a loop trail around the end of the Greenway Trail now at Waverly back to the park right now. But yeah, fluvial erosion, that is a major problem for us, period, because you know White Lake Creek's the second fastest in the state. White River's the 3rd fastest, so we're very aware of the floodplain and all that, Clint, we are. But I see it sometime. My dream is to get them all connected some kind of way, whether it's up by the road, whether it's across the road from you guys. But I would love to see all the trails connected, that's for sure. How we do it and how we get there, we got to work with the public and see how we can.
thank you for allowing me the
so much.
time.
All righty.
I'm here to support Clint. My name's Patricia Saint.
I'm
and-
sorry, can you
Patricia
get closer
Saint.
to that? Because
Sure.
I took my aids out.
That's okay. My name's Patricia Saint, and I'm here to support Clint. He actually farms for our family. I'm co-owner of Beecham Dillon Farm with my 2 sisters, Letitia in the back, and Teresa, I think she's on the virtual call. We grew up here. We have a family farm. It's beautiful. I love to hike too. But the location of this proposed trail really causes us concern. It's affecting 3 critical infrastructures, which honestly, it's a national security issue. One is farmland, which Clint has described. Secondly is electricity. We, on our property, have easements to Hoosier Energy and AES because they need more electrical capacity. And also, there's a railroad train that runs through that property. So, like I said, I love to hike, but what the proposal is not a good location for that to happen because of the farmland. So we ask that you take that into consideration, because it's just not, it's a national security threat.
Yep, I appreciate that. And yeah, before we do anything like that, we would be meeting with public, that's for sure, and getting their inputs. We would have public meetings as well. We had the public meetings with the trail plan, but I think our biggest meeting, we might have had 15 people only that showed up, but we had several meetings on it. But I've got all 3 of your concerns, that's for sure, but I understand fluvial erosion is a big one. And you gotta realize whenever I draw KML maps years ago, I'm drawing maps where I think's possible. Is it gonna be right in them locations? No. Is it gonna be where HWC put them right in the exact location? Probably not, but it's a starting point, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to talk about the Greenway Trail? Not hearing none. Gentlemen, it's, any discussion you guys wanna have on it?
Yeah, me, and I'm stepping into it here, I know it. We're all loving trails, but sometimes we don't want a trail. I was just thinking about, my property line is actually the old interurban, and it'd make a great trail. I also had a little bit of an issue because when it was a trail. I actually made it a trail so my kids stay off the road. The neighbor kids were taking their four-wheelers, and it wasn't pleasant. And that was just an experience. I'm curious, and I should know the answer to this, but when these trails go in, Kenny, what kind of, I guess you say, I mean, it has to be, it's not an eminent domain business. You can't take somebody's property to build a trail.
We
So
never have.
I wouldn't vote for that ever. So all this is kind of a wishful thing as we can, am I correct in
You
saying?
gotta work with property owners, absolutely.
That's the whole
Yeah.
bottom line
But
is,
it takes so much time sometimes.
yeah,
You
it
gotta-
takes
You
forever.
gotta make everybody happy.
We've got to keep everybody on the path. So the property owner won't lose control of their property.
Absolutely not.
That's what I think is the key thing here. You know, when
Not unless they would wanna sell it, but I don't see these people wanting to do that, but.
well, you know, it's different than utilities out there. They decide they're gonna go across you, they go out across you. And sometimes they'll pay you a fair price, but I've got people that I know that have got a utility line going across it, and they just soon never see it. But they don't have any choice. In this case, the choice is always with the property. Is that correct? That's what I wanted to hear.
No, there is a lot of trails that do use gas line easements, power line easements, but you're still gonna work with the property owner.
Well, I just don't want a property owner to lose
Cause they've got,
control of the property.
they've got easements for that power, that gas, they don't have for a trail, that's why you still gotta work with the public.
That's the way it ought to be. I just was making sure I was voting voting where my vote was gonna go as far as the trail. I like trails, I love them, love to walk them when I can. And the Waverly Trail is probably one of the prettiest places in the state for me, but I don't wanna, and to Clint's question, I think, I never thought about, you know, the Waverly Trail is right next to, last year was soybeans. And I never thought about, you know, liabilities and problems of, you know, you gotta spray as you're gonna get in a bind because it's right next to it. So I don't know how we deal with that.
Got it cabled off and marked and everything, but I mean,
Yeah, but
that's
I
still
mean-
not keeping them from going across there and walking in the fields.
Well, many, many moons ago, I used to corn to tassel for 13 years, and the plane flew over in the field that I was tasseling, and I was told it was called Saigon. What a great name, Saigon 500, and
Agent Orange.
we blistered. The six of us in the fields that was doing mop-up, we blistered, and Pioneer and the farmer, and so, yes, I'm well aware, and I've actually experienced that at a youthful age of being on next to a field that was getting sprayed, that just doing a job, so I hadn't thought about that. If we vote for this today, Kenny is our expert on trails.
No expert.
Yeah, you're the expert. By voting on this to move the plan forward, we're not mitigating or taking anything away from their concerns.
Absolutely no.
And are you aware of that as property owners, that we're just looking at this? If you, per that presentation, it's very costly. I have no clue, having sat on this council for 23 years and 5 years up here as a commissioner, have no clue where that money's gonna come from. I mean, there's a lot of money in this, and again, there's some things happening out of our control that, you know, it's not like we're gonna just come across a bunch of money next week, pass this, and start putting trails in. It's not gonna happen.
I mean, you're gonna have to go after grants and everything else, Brian. I mean, that's what it takes. That's what's taken so long to get where we're even at now, so.
So what happens if we get 2 or 3 people that are willing to volunteer and help us, but then they got a cantankerous neighbor that doesn't want to, and that's their right, it's their property? How do you go around that situation?
Try to dig and see how you can go around it with the other neighbors and be willing to. I mean, that's all you can do.
Okay.
I mean, it's
then I don't
connecting-
see any problem passing
it's
this
connect-
because it
It's
just,
a guiding document. It's
Right.
not putting anybody down, binding anybody.
okay.
But I mean, you gotta try to connect the dots the best you can, and I mean, routes have changed, I mean, that's for sure. I mean, the only one that hasn't was whenever we put the last loop and the bridge on Burkhart Creek, but that's because we already own the property.
Right.
And we just put the little bridge across and made a loop trail at the very south end. We just added on to the trails that we'd already had existing. But I mean, something like this is gonna be new trails, new terrain. I mean, you gotta work with the public or you ain't gonna get it done.
Yes, Mr. Ferguson?
But it does, it feels like a threat in some ways, and that's from lack of education.
I'm sorry, that's okay. It's my ears, not your problem.
No, it does feel like a threat. I mean, you guys were talking about property tax, and my heart sank, because mine's been going up. The pressure on farmers today is tremendous. I don't farm our farm, we lease it out. But the cost in farming, you could speak to. And here's another issue. You know, it's I-69. I thought, I don't know what I'm gonna do if that comes through my front yard. It was gonna divide my farm. And I have a difficult time differentiating. I just feel like I thought I owned this farm and can do with it what I want. And this is not that category. So much appreciated our conversation and Odie and I love trails. Honestly, I just donated a little piece of ground to the Vandalia Trail up on Washington Street. I'm not against that at all, but this is my home farm, this is where I live.
Yeah.
And it does feel, here's another. So,
Oh, I understand where you're coming from, Bob.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry.
I look like him, I know.
I'm used to your dad. You look too much like him.
This land that the proposed trails are on, it's private land. It's not for sale. So I don't know where the confusion is. I mean, I love to hike too, but the proposal to put it on private land, it doesn't make sense. And we're very strongly opposed to that. So this isn't something that we'll talk about in 2 months and maybe we've changed our mind. We're not selling. It's not eminent domain, so I don't understand how this is even feasible for the people who don't want to participate, and we don't.
And if you don't want to participate, you don't have to, ma'am. I mean, it's a guiding documents, all this is. I mean, plans change. I-69 plan has changed. I mean, I
Right.
dealt with I-69 and county property over there, and I mean, I'm very aware of, it's a guiding document only. It's not taking your rights away, your property at all. It is just, a trail plan that we're trying to get approved so we can go after more federal dollars, whether it's a National Park Service grant, whether it's Land and Water
So-
grant. I mean, we do a lot of grants to be able to do trails.
I understand.
And we gotta have this to go after some of the, like, next level, Harris grant. We don't have to have park plan to do that, or a trail plan to do that. But if you're going after National Park Service grants or any of the federal grants, you better have it or you're not even gonna be standing a chance of getting it
Then-
awarded.
If you don't need the land, why is the map showing it as it would be on our land? So I don't understand that.
You gotta realize, I've changed my KML maps probably 15 times. I got a lot of versions of maps.
Mm-hmm.
That's what HWC started with, was an OKML map that I created. So, I mean, I've got like 39 miles of trails mapped out in Morgan County.
Right.
Are they all gonna ever be done? Ain't no way, but you gotta start somewhere. So, I
Right.
mean,
Maybe-
things change, plans change, and I mean, the trail plans change. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I've been working with the Knobstone Group trying to get that last 10-mile connector. It took 5 years, but we finally got that 10-mile connector done. And then we was going across with an easement, private property. And then we had some ding-dongs that actually went on a fire trail in the forestry, got hung up on this private property, and they walked right across the gun firing range. So we lost our easement. So now we're back at ground zero trying to get that last mile and a half connection done. So, I mean, things change, so, I mean,
Well,
So-
we don't want to sell, so that won't
I
change.
understand that. Yep, not a problem.
This isn't binding to you or gives us permission to take your lands, what I'm
No.
hearing. And then Clint, this reconfirms, when you said some people with water and telling them to stay out of the water, I'm aware of the story he just said, they walked across a gun range.
Well, it's a little alarming to see a map that affects the land that we're not selling. So why propose something that, at least right now, is not for sale? It just seems like a waste of time.
Because we plan not for today, we plan for 30, 40, 50 years from now. It's just a start.
Go ahead, Odie. And we're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, I know it's a 20-year down the road kind of thing that you guys are doing, but some of the, and I'm just talking for White Lick Creek, where I live. You know, the road that comes out of Brooklyn that goes all the way down to Centerton, it parallels the creek. I mean, and you have a right-of-way on that road, so I mean, I could understand the trail being down through there. Plus, that road hasn't washed out in 50 years, so probably a good spot for that. But you know, coming from Mooresville, where I seen the black line down through there, there's a lot of that it's 5 feet underwater right now. So is all I'm saying. So being able to utilize some existing county roads is what I'm understanding. The line changes, things change. So I just wanted to clarify that what we're seeing now may not be what it's going to be in 20 years. It's going to change.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you
It
gotta
better
work
not
with the
be, because
property owners.
they're liable to decide to use the interurban right away, and I'm in trouble.
Yeah, so I'm saying you're probably going to utilize county roads and stuff where you can.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, I've been on a lot of trails. I did a 50-mile road march last year from Kokomo to wherever that was. But that was an old railroad track, but, you know, so I'm just clarifying in my mind that things are not exactly what I'm seeing in the paper, so.
Yeah, and you're gonna see, I planned on originally bringing Waverly Trail all the way down to Perry Road. That's probably not gonna happen. I understand that, because, I mean, property does change hands. And we've got parts that we've already got in the county's name, but we might have to go along a lot of Waverly Park Road, 037. We might have to daggone do that to get around. I mean, that's just what you gotta do, is connecting the dots.
All right, thank you for your time.
One last chance for anybody on the White River Greenway Trail Plan for Morgan County.
I think I know all of it. Gary Oakes. This is a visioning process that we're going through. I work with Mr. Hale on the White River Vision as we look down, coming down through there. We worked with Clint when we did the levee part of the project and said will not be public access. So those are the kind of agreements we work through as we come through a process like this. Looking, as Mr. Kyer said, looking way down the road, all these property owners change. We work with those every chance that we get and try to satisfy their needs. As we work through the levee process, we had those to the north that included Clint and Mr. Hayes and the Branch family, and to the south. So this can be done. It can be done in an amenable manner. We all work together, and that's what we're about. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the board? Not, I'd entertain
Well, there is
motion
a
for
bit of a
anybody.
discussion here. I've got a really dumb question, but well, I guess I always told kids there's no such thing as a dumb question. You know, when they were looking at 69, which is a little more serious than this, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful to the idea, it's just that when you're building an interstate, it's a little different. They actually had like 4 A, B, C, and D routes. And it looks like we've kind of gone with one route here. Is that right? I mean, we know it's flexible, but.
Oh, it's very flexible.
Yeah.
I mean, you got several versions, but what's in the plan is what HWC come up with. But I mean,
Why
it's
didn't they
not
put
putting it in stone.
they don't want to put alternatives or alternates?
I'm sure we could go back and have the committee look at it again, have them look at it again, and we could pay them more money and do that, Tom. I'm
I'd
sure
like
we
to do
can.
that, really. I mean, just kind of, I know it'd probably fill up the room, but I don't want to necessarily, I mean, I think alternate routes, or if you're wishful thinking, you might as well have some
I don't
alternates
have a
right off the
problem
bat.
with that.
How much would it, how much are we getting?
Oh, I can't tell you that, and he's not here, so I can't even ask what HWC would charge.
Let's-
Josh can tell you what we spent to this point already, and you're probably gonna be looking at probably that amount again. But I mean, I'm just being honest.
Well, that's what we want, honest. Yes, Eddie?
I have a question. I'm not a property owner there, but I have two sons that live there, and I'm not doing my thing as a father if I don't come up here and, because they didn't know this was taking place today. Their property butts up to Cragen's, goes all the way back to the railroad tracks. They're both there. To me, it seems like the cart's before the horse before we get this figured out. We got several property owners that don't want this. If the property owners don't want it, it seems like what you're saying is you can't take it from them. They're not willing to negotiate. I'm just kind of lost on how this doesn't go through the homeowners and people being talked to see if it's even an option, because if you can't take it, you can't do it, and they're not negotiating now. Why didn't they do the negotiations before we put all the time and effort into this? My sons both, I know, are against this because they did know it was happening. One of them has a pasture that goes up to the railroad tracks. The other one has a shooting range that we all go out to and we shoot on it, and we shoot right through there. And my other concern on Cragen's is I used to years ago have permission to hunt on Cragen's property, and I'm sure there's several others. When that corn's up and there's hunters there and you got people walking through a path, it's a big safety concern, but it's just my 2 cents. I love the parks and I love the trails too, but I ain't trying to shoot myself in the foot here. I'm just sticking up for my family as well.
Thanks, Eddie.
Entertain a motion, table, deny, whatever you guys want to do.
Well, I'm on motion, move that we table for, just to get more information about what it would cost to get some alternate routes, or if we really want to do that. I've got to run that through my head. I don't,
We did have all the public meetings that we had,
Yeah, we
tried to
did.
get the public involved. We've had them at many locations, but I mean, we can't. Most of them was here. We had one up in Waverly, Justin, didn't we? But I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, it don't matter to me. It's only a guiding document. It's not taking nobody's property, and it's,
I realize that, and I have nothing against planning in the head. That way you don't have Eddie, you don't have a highway department in a floodway by planning far enough out in the head that you come across this. I understand the citizens. I don't want government to take my property, and we're not going to take your property. And it's a guideline, but I'm willing to table it for a couple weeks because I want to know if they dig their hills in, which is, you're right, and I don't blame you one bit for doing it, and I know the fishers well enough to know they'll dig their hills in. And Eddie, you're fired. Just joking.
you're willing to put that in the form of a motion.
But my point of it is that I want to study alternative routes. If we get, I would like to see the trail from the Waverly Park make it all the way to Henderson Ford boat ramp. To me, that makes sense, and it's a good place to turn around and go back up to Waverly Park. Getting there's, we got some property owners that don't want to, so can you take one that does and send them back out towards 69 and get them back around and loop? It's an additional cost to the trail, but it's the property owner's right not to have that crossing them. So I'd just like to have a little bit more time to look at that map that was given 2 weeks ago. So I'll put that in the form of a motion that we table it so I can answer some of my own questions in the next couple weeks.
Got a motion by Mr. Collier to table the,
second.
got a motion and a second by Mr. Adams. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
I want to know
Thank
how
you
Eddie
all
got
for coming
permission to
out.
go on Cragen's, because they said, absolutely not, Collier.
And that was your dad.
Rich Media, SOP, Zach. I have not seen Zach here.
They're on a table. I moved a table.
Got a motion to table Rich Media, the SOPs for 911 dispatch. I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Trish, Board of Health.
Morning, Trish.
Good morning, Commissioner Adams. The Health Department is just asking for your approval to apply for and/or accept immunization grant for July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $14,839.12.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you in the form of a motion.
Yes, my thank you is a motion to approve this.
Motion by
Grant.
Mr. Adams to go ahead and bless Trish's Runnigan's.
That was
request.
$14,839.12?
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's largely decreased from last year. And this letter was actually sent before they pulled the COVID funding, so we're not sure exactly what it's going to look like. So that number could go up or down, just depending.
We got a motion. Did you second the motion, Don?
I thought it made it.
You made it.
Don made it, I'll second it.
Mr. Collier seconding the motion. Any further discussion from the board? Or the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Trish.
Thanks very much.
Justin, it's all yours, sir. CCMG.
Thank you, everyone. Before you are 3 different contracts. The cover letter lists those out. All 3 projects total up to $1.5 million, which is the match that we got from CCMG last year in our July call. So these contracts are just finalizing our commitment to use these state funds for the project. So this contract's between us and NDOT. If you have any questions, I will answer them now.
Any questions for Justin? Entertain a motion then, on one or them all.
Let's just do them all.
Awesome.
Motion by Mr. Adams to approve all 3 of them, the CCMG contracts. I'll second the motion. Any further questions from the board or from the audience? Paving, bridge, any of it? Not hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0, Justin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Justin, the performance for Brooklyn.
Yes,
the
so
bond.
the town of Brooklyn is planning a sewer line relocation project along Tidewater from their treatment plant up to the Brooklyn limit. As part of that work is in our right-of-way. We will need to issue a right-of-way permit for that. One of our requirements for issuing a right-of-way permit is we want a performance bond in place from that contractor. In the event they go out and they get started on the work and then they decide they don't want to finish the project, we can call on this bond to restore our right-of-way to our standards. So by signing this bond, we will have that right to draw on those funds if needed.
Any questions for Justin on the performance bond request? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second by Mr. Collier, Mr. Adams. Any further discussion from the board? From the audience? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. NDOT State Road 42 unofficial detour. Mr. Justin?
So continuing NDOT's project from last year, they're replacing some small structures along State Road 42. This is in the Little Point to Eminence area along that corridor. Due to the state road being shut down, they have a longer state route detour that they will sign, but we anticipate a lot of local traffic is going to bail right at the project limits and seek a local alternative route around the project. The state cannot sign those as official detours, so they will enter into an agreement with us that we will monitor the pre-condition of the project and the post-condition of the project. And if our roads get deteriorated due to this added traffic, they will help us pay for the restoration, or they will pay for the restoration of it.
So I'm going to say not just help.
Yes, they will pay for
They
it.
do it.
Yep. We just have to prove it, so, yep.
Okay. I move that we approve that unofficial detours for 42.
Motion by Mr. Adams to approve all 3 of the unofficial detours.
Second.
Second by Mr. Collier. Any further discussion from the board or the audience? I see none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I lost my document you give me. The Monroe Township Capital Project Fund. I know Ann's been working on that with Josh and everything.
I will cover this, yes. So on the document that you have in front of you, this is one of those very complicated issues where we're not asking you to allocate money, approve grants, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, what we have here is we have money, and in order to be able to spend it, we need to have a fund. And Linda has designated a name and line item for the fund, but it requires you all to bless it. And there's $200,000 currently, with an additional $400,000 plus interest coming in future payments. That those funds will be used as previously designated for the Monroe Township EMS station. These are funds that are being paid pursuant to an agreement with this board, and it's referred to in there as the West Point Agreement related to TIP funds. So, there you go.
Any questions for Ann? Nope. If not, I'd entertain a motion on the ordinance Monroe Township EMS Capital Project Fund.
This ordinance 2025-4-7? Just -4? Brian Carr makes a motion that we accept the ordinance to Monroe Township EMS Capital Projects Fund, ordinance 2025-4.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the ordinance for Monroe Township EMS Capital Project Fund, ordinance number 2025-4. We have not. Want to have a second reading on this? If not,
I'll amend my original motion to include the waiving of the second reading.
the waiving of the second reading. Any further discussion from the board?
Second.
Second.
Bad change.
Any discussion from the audience? Questions from the audience on this? Money that come in from the TIF funds that actually got a dedicated fund that's coming out of the general fund to help Monroe Township dig an EMS project. Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Last thing, you got a tort claim before you, and that's,
I make the motion that we send this on to our insurance carrier.
got a motion to send the tort claim on to the carrier. I'll second the motion. Any further questions from the board? Not hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. For the good of the county, Mr. Adams.
Oh, my land. I'm gonna tell you what. It's been since, I suppose, over how many years since we've had a flood like this one? 08. Eddie and, Eddie and Abby, both those folks and their people, made me proud. Thank you very much.
I guess I won't fire you. Especially since Sunday at 6 o'clock, he's out at the office by himself, working, coordinating. When I went out driving around, kudos to the crews that did the best they could across the board. Maybe if property taxes go up, sarcasm is not always best suited for this position, but neither is being up all weekend through various jobs and phone calls. But maybe if property taxes go up 40%, we might be able to fulfill some of the silly requests that we got over this weekend, and the demands of I'm a taxpayer. Congratulations. And with 6.8 inches especially on the southern, well, the whole county got flooded, but down here we're known as the mineral city. Everybody had water in their basements. Every creek was overflowed. We issued, just so people know, we issued only because we had so many roads getting flooded. Emergency services couldn't get to you if you ran off the road. They did a great job. I know at one time, 9 water rescues up north. We did at the city probably 8 or 9. I'm sure there's probably more than that. I lost count. I'm an accountant. So just way too many. That's why we told people to get off the road unless it was an emergency. Clint, back to your comment. Red, I told everybody to stay off the roads, and they were still driving off into 4 feet of water. So trust me, homeowners, I get it, and I own property further down south on the river, and I run off four-wheelers and quads. And the great thing is I've owned it for over 10 years, and they tell me that when I ask them who gave them permission, they'll tell you right to my face, Brian Collier. I go, well, let me talk to him. Yeah. You might want to look up my Facebook page because you're speaking to him. So I get people trespassing you. My sister married into a farming community. Mr. Voiles was my mentor for all these years. Big farmer. We debated many years ago on 3% increases. How long before a loaf of bread was $3? 2.5 years ago, when I was going through the line at Kroger's, don't tell the kids this, but I buy my stuff at the firehouse, and if you put bread in the refrigerator, it'll last for 30 days, and I treat myself to Wonder Bread until it went across the scanner 2.5 years ago, and it was $3.25, and unbeknownst to me, because I was in uniform, I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and I asked the lady who was ringing it up, I said, who can afford $3 a loaf of bread? And she looked at me and said, apparently a fireman. So my point of it is that I live in fear that one day that bread with 40% increases will be $10 a loaf. I live in fear that working 3 jobs, I'll be able to still buy, I'm not bragging, but I'll figure out how to get my bread, but I worry about my kids and the next generation. And the only reason why I take those phone calls, the only reason why I get called an idiot quite often, and I confirmed to one person over the weekend, I said, you know, the more people that tell me that, the more I think that probably am for taking this position. I worry about the next generation more than I worry about myself. And it all goes back to our farming and our farmers is still the biggest product that we produce in this county. And if you go over to my Whiteland office and you cut through on Whiteland Road and you look at all that rich black Johnson County ground that's now black with asphalt and black with shingles, I cringe at the prospects of where prices are going. And so I'm very protective to my #1 output product in this county, and I'm very respectful to that niche that has led to this county being so conservative, more so than all the others. With that, and I'll quickly wrap up here, a couple things so that you know in the next 3 years that everyone has to put up with me. These capital projects that you see right outside your window that everybody's saying is a waste, I do not call someone conservative by kicking capital projects down the road. It would not behoove a farmer to run an obsolete operation, grain bins, tractors, combines, without having a systematic way of I don't expect you to go in and replace them every year. I don't replace my CPUs, my monitors, and my printers all in the same year. I can't cash flow that down at my business. So 1 year I buy CPUs. 2 years later I buy printers. 2 years later I replace the monitors so I can cash flow. And so these big capital projects that we got in, we couldn't kick the can anymore. And on, is it July 2nd? Is that the ribbon cutting? I will enlighten some of the county on some of the reasons why we couldn't kick it down the road anymore, but I'm not privy to say right now. We are growing, we are changing. You alluded, Mr. Ferguson, to changing in the next generation. Absolutely. Ma'am, I hear you that you're not interested now, you're not interested tomorrow, and you're not going to be interested 20 years from now. Maybe the next generation might be, but if we don't plan, you know, I got involved in this because in 1998, I got involved in this because I-69 was coming through here, and I said, we're not going to stop it. There's not a single person in this county that had enough power to stop that federal project. But I said we can help shape it and do the best we can to shape it. And I compared it to a lump of clay that you put on a potter's spinning wheel. It's our responsibilities as the adults and leaders in this community, and anybody that came up here I consider a leader, because it's not easy to speak publicly. But I consider you a leader because you had enough fortitude to come up here. But you got to help us spin that wheel and add water to it so that clump of clay turns into a beautiful vase. Otherwise, Warren County is going to be stuck with a clump of clay. And so I appreciate you coming up here. I don't understand all this. It's a guideline. I'm going to educate myself a little bit more because we just had the final product 2 weeks ago. Kenny is the expert, whether he wants to admit to it or not, and he's been at this a long time. So we will research it more. I invite you back 2 weeks from now because I will vote on it. And as long as I don't find it that it's legally binding that I get to take your land, because I don't want that. I don't want anyone coming down and taking mine on the river. So I'm not up here to take anybody else's. As I said, I got sprayed by some chemical and blistered up, and I don't want that liability going back on Cragen Farms. His dad and sister and everybody be all mad at me. So, that's the neat thing, that even though why this community is growing and changing, we're still a small community in which many of us went to school together, worked together, church together, we know each other. So I'm going to end it on, for the good of the county, we're still small enough that we can express our differences and get on the same path and work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the county? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
We should mention that for Gary, there's going to be a public hearing, is it tomorrow? At 2 o'clock? Here, and when's the second meeting? Next Thursday? It's in the evening though, correct?
I think it's in the Wednesday.
But it's about
It's Wednesday, because I'm on duty on Thursday.
Okay. It's about the courthouse square. I think people just want to see what's going on. We're just having a public meeting to make sure they understand what's happening. So with that, we need to, I'm sure the paper's going to be on top of that. I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming out today. Appreciate it.